Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Player's Take, episode 70. I am your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host, my good friend, Montrell Rice. How's it going, man?
What's up, everybody? How you doing today, man?
I'm doing okay. I am personally doing perfectly fine. It's there's a lot going on in the world. We will discuss various parts of that throughout the episode.
Yeah.
But I'm doing okay. How about yourself?
I'm holding up despite what's going on. This is a good distraction for me, and video games are a good distraction right now for me because I need it desperately.
Right. I think a lot of people do. So hopefully this can serve as a bit of a respite from everything going on in the world right now for you. But for those of you who haven't listened before, this is our video game show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. We also post on YouTube at 6 a.m. Central Time on Saturdays. We've had a number of those now. I think we're up to 4 episodes now we're doing on YouTube.
3 or 4. Yeah.
Yes.
3. Yeah.
And like I've said every week since we started doing this, we have gameplay running under it that we have been playing, games we've been playing. So yeah, check that out as well. Otherwise, let's just jump right in. Montrell, what have you been playing this week, sir?
Played some more Final Fantasy 14. I don't know. I just been playing it until I got Xenoblade.
You're trading one MMO for another game that is like an MMO?
Yeah, pretty much.
Sort of.
And then I played Dot Hack Mutation. I haven't really touched it since I've got Xenoblade. I didn't want to start up anything until I finished until I got Xenoblade. So my games have been very light. I've been pretty much playing like Final Fantasy 14 and League of Legends here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really touched any single player games until I start playing Xenoblade Chronicles. So that's pretty much all I've been playing right now.
Right. I've been playing a little Apex. I've definitely fallen off that in the past week. I needed to do that though.
Okay. Yeah.
Definitely got some other gameplay in. I've also been playing Gwent, but they CD Projekt announced today that there is a new expansion for Gwent coming on the 30th of June. This has kind of been rumored for a while, but it is confirmed. They dropped a trailer. It's called Master Mirror. It's going to be based off of the Gaunter O'Dim character from the Witcher 3 DLC, Hearts of Stone. He is a character in the game. He has cards already in the game, and he actually is kind of the centerpiece of the arena in that game, or in Gwent as well. But this expansion is going to he's kind of the poster boy for it, I suppose. And some of the new cards they showed look fucking cool as shit. So I'm pretty excited about this. Did you have a question?
Oh no, I'll just.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So looks pretty cool. I think right now is a great time to get into Gwent if you haven't, if you've never played it. The meta is pretty diverse. I feel like all the factions feel pretty viable for the most part. And with new cards coming, the game is about to get really like rejuvenated in the meta as well. So I'm really excited about this. I've been saving up in-game currency for fucking 2.5 months now, and I'm going to be saving until this expansion comes out. So I'm not sure. I'm not going to do like a video, like a YouTube video necessarily, but I am going to record me spending all that shit and like opening kegs and like, fucking getting a bunch of cards and shit. So that may be a gameplay video under one of our future episodes. But that'll be way in the future. So, also finished Banjo-Tooie on Saturday. I got through the rest of the worlds. I 100%ed all of them and beat the final boss. The game ended fairly abruptly. I forgot how abruptly it ends. It's kind of just like you finish the worlds, get as many jiggies as you need, go to the boss's lair, and you beat the boss, and that's the game. See you later. So
no ending, no special ending or anything like that.
I mean, there was some nice little Easter egg moments at the end of the game where all the characters are like partying with each other and stuff. But
okay,
I mean, it is just like a goofy, cartoony 3D platformer. So
yeah,
they didn't go too crazy with that. But the game's good. The end of game, the final few worlds are really good in this game. But I think the last world is honestly, I never have been able to shake this feeling with it in this game, is that I just think it is a really disappointing final world for a series that hasn't had a third entry, even though I don't count Nuts and Bolts, even though it is technically a third entry, but it's a different kind of game. So
Okay.
I just felt like it was a pretty disappointing final world. I don't want to I'm not going to get into it here, but whenever I inevitably do make a video about this game and Banjo-Kazooie, I will explain why I think that world is just not very good compared to many of the others. So otherwise, yeah, I've been playing Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. We are in a similar spot. I am a few hours ahead of you. I've played about 20 hours. I think you told me you played about 15, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think, man? I know you've played this game before, but you never beat it, right? From what I understand.
Yeah, so I as superficial as this sounds, and I know I harp all about graphics and everything like that, about how graphics don't really make the game. I think it was the graphics. I got into this game super late, so by the time I got into Xenoblade, I was playing Xenoblade Chronicles X. That was actually my first Xenoblade, and then I got into Xenoblade Chronicles. I bought it for the Wii before it came out. Obviously, before it came out for the 3DS.
Yeah.
And I tried to play it on the Wii, and it just didn't look too good in my opinion.
Dude, it looks like fucking ass. It looks like a PS2 game. It's terrible. The graphics are horrific. I can't believe they actually made this game though on the Wii. Like, think about that, Montrell. Think about these environments you're running through. They're the same as what was on the Wii. They're not changed. They didn't add anything. Like, they're the same environments for the most part. And think about that running on a fucking Wii. Like,
that,
how
I was
big
impressed with that, because I do think about that a lot, and I'm like, these environments are fucking massive, even if they are PS2 graphics. Like, what the fuck? And I remember I tried to play on the 3DS, and 3DS really just kind of upscaled it. It really didn't improve the graphics as per se. With this game, man, like, it's beautiful. I can look at it. I do find myself looking at the draw distance because it's just so gorgeous to look at the background.
Yeah. Oh, the environments are so beautiful. Like, the scenery. It's like, dude, when you get on the Bionis leg for the first time and you really see the scale that this game is going to be on, it's fucking nuts. You know, you're literally looking over a cliff straight ahead, and you just see the Mechonis like straight ahead of you, and it's this giant fucking Titan, and you're on the other one, and it's like you're on its fucking leg, you know, like you're on the Bionis knee, and it's like, just thinking about how massive this thing is. That whole societies of people can literally live on it, you know, is really, like, I don't know. That's one thing with this game that they achieve so well, is just the scale of the environments and how beautiful they are, you know?
Yeah, and so playing this game, I mean, I don't mean to shit on other games, but playing this game, I don't understand how Pokemon couldn't achieve this. Like, it.
Call him out, bro. Call him out.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. And Game Freak has way more money than Monolith Soft. They have
more people.
In my opinion, they have more people. They have access to, like, if they ask Nintendo for the money, Nintendo will give it to them. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't understand why. I actually went back and played like Sword, or I got Shield, I think. No, I got Sword.
No, you got Sword, yeah.
Yeah, so I went back and played Sword, and I went out into the wild area, and I'm just like, what the fuck? And
what is this? Like, it's this? So small. It's so small.
And there is no excuse for it. And I understand maybe another part of it, maybe because it's online, that has a lot to take away from the processing power and stuff like that. And Xenoblade Chronicles is obviously offline. But man, the environments in Xenoblade Chronicles, like, I'm not even fucking joking, look fucking gorgeous. And they look on par, even better in my opinion, than Breath of the Wild. It's just,
oh yeah. Oh, there's way more personality to the environments in this game than there are in Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild is just like no offense to it, but it is very diverse landmass. But when you break it down though, it's like, it's kind of just a bunch of peaks and valleys, you know. And it's really, this game is like I said, you're literally on a fucking Titan, like, you know. And there are like land bridges and all sorts of crazy shit, like caves. There's huge cave networks and shit just like inside these mountains and stuff. Like, it's there's so much to explore. It's crazy how big these areas are. Like, you spend 10 to 15 hours in the Bionis leg segment of the game because it's that large, you know?
Yeah.
There's that much to explore. There's that many side quests. Like, there's that much to do in it. and it is rewarding to explore as well. Like it's not something like it's just empty environments. It's not like there's shit everywhere, you know, to find.
Yeah, there are monsters running. Like the game, like you said, it's like an MMO style game. So monsters are just roaming the field like an MMO. If you guys ever played that, any type of MMO, the combat is kind of like that too as well. In my opinion, you have a tank, you have a healer, and then you have a damage dealer, stuff like that. I, for the most part, love the combat. I think so. I was playing it, and I just realized it today. I did tell someone was like, how do you compare it to Xenoblade Chronicles 2? Because that was their first Xenoblade. And I do like the combat variety in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Like it has more variety as far as combat. The thing about Xenoblade
go ahead, finish your thought.
The thing about, so far 15 hours in, like I compare my first 15 hours with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and then my first 15 hours with Xenoblade Chronicles 1. The combat in Xenoblade Chronicles 1 is a lot easier and faster to get into. I say about like 5 or 10 hours, you're already like pulling off combos, toppling people. The combat feels really fast paced. Whereas comparing that to Xenoblade Chronicles 2, they still lock off a lot of stuff to you. And the game really doesn't get as fast paced as you like it to be until like maybe 20 hours or even more 25 hours.
It was like Letheria before I felt like that was like the fourth fucking Titan, you know? Before I felt like the combat really opened up. So I agree with you largely in what you're saying here. I think Xenoblade Chronicles 2's combat is more complicated for sure. It has more depth to it. That doesn't see. I think this is where people probably get messed up with this, though, is I don't think that's better, though, in this case. I think Xenoblade Chronicles, this game's combat is simpler. It's easier to wrap your head around. The combos are easier to wrap your head around. Like the break, topple, daze mechanics are way easier to wrap your head around than what they have in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Like 2, I feel like is like completely overcomplicated. There's like 5 different fucking status effects for topple and break and shit. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, why, you know? Whereas this game, I feel like it's a lot more simplified and it's easier to pull this stuff off in combat. But
and that's what I mean by like simple. Like I didn't mean like it's just simple. I feel like it's easy to play, but hard to master. Like it's really simple to get into, and the player can feel like they're doing stuff. But if you really want to master it, then you have to obviously learn more about it.
Right, and there's more depth to 2 in the sense that you can, because in these games you can play as any character you want. You don't have to play as the main character. You can control any of them. And in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. This is kind of what I'm going to be my comparison here. So what I'm going to suggest to you is as you get deeper in the game and you get more of the party unlocked, don't just play Shulk, like play other characters because they play completely fucking differently from him, like completely differently. Like their movesets are different. Obviously, you know, Ryan plays differently than Shulk. You know, Sharla plays differently from Shulk. Like she's a healer, right? They play differently. I recommend you play some of these other characters. You're about to get a 4th character at some point in the near future, and he is a really interesting character to play as. So I would suggest playing around with him and seeing like if you like his style, because dude, like there's totally different styles for all 7. I think it's 7 characters or 8 characters. I don't remember how many there are total, but what my comparison with 2 is that basically the depth you get from all the characters in the party in Xenoblade Chronicles 1 is the depth you get from one character in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, because Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is like all these different styles roped into one character, right? Where you can have you can put any blade you want on any character, you know. And those blades all have different combat styles. They have different weapons, they have different arts, you know, they have different ways of fighting, you know. And each character interacts with those same blades in different ways because of the abilities and animations that they have, you know. So that's where the game is deeper in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and that's kind of the thing for me. I think it got too much in that game to the point where I never wanted to go beyond Rex, playing as Rex, because it was so complicated just playing him that by the time I got to the end of the game, I felt like I mastered him, but that's it. Like, whereas in Xenoblade Chronicles, I feel like you can play this whole game and master all 7 characters or 8 characters, you know?
Yeah, so that's what I meant by like combat variety. As far as Xenoblade Chronicles 2, you can put like anything on Rex, and he plays totally. He'll play like Nia if you want him to play like Nia, or he has a little samurai blade that looks like a
Right.
samurai, and those are like meant to be tanks, I believe, or something like that. So you can play them in any role you want them to.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, Tora has his own little mini game with his blade, which is actually not a blade, but like you know you got to learn her and everything of that nature. So yeah, you're right. It's so deep that I'm scared I'm not even done with Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I feel like I'm gonna beat Xenoblade Chronicles 1 more than before I beat Xenoblade Chronicles 2, because 2 is just so intimidating, even for a player like me. Like, it's really intimidating.
Dude, I'm
just
a Xenoblade fanboy. I'm a fucking fanboy for the series, and yeah, I think 2 is really intimidating. Like, even for me, like because like I said, I don't really think I mastered it. Honestly, as much as I just said I did, like I don't really think I did, because frankly, I only used 3 or 4 blades throughout the entire game, and by the time I got to the end of the game, I felt really, really comfortable with those 3 or 4 swapping between them.
And I think that's what they intended. They just want you to get comfortable with whatever, but it's just like, you know, type of players that we are, like we kind of want to look at everything and master everything, and it can get very intimidating for me. Whereas I like this game. Another thing I like about this game is the story and the characters. Now, I'm not taking anything from Rex, Nina, Tora, and Pyra. Those are some good characters. But I feel like Shulk and Ryan, just from Fiora, her short time on screen, like I got and Duncan and everything of that nature, I got so much character from them within the first 5 hours that I completely forgot about Rex and all those other characters. Like, they're not as like Rex's character or Xenoblade Chronicles 2 characters aren't as memorable as these characters, and I see why people love these characters so much. I see particularly why people like Shulk. Like, Shulk is a really interesting character. He's not like the typical MC like Goku. He's fucking smart. Like, he knows how to do things, and he knows how to use things in certain ways. And when things get unlocked, he's very observant. And I like main characters like that who are smart. And he's not an idiot. Even with Ryan, who's supposed to be who's supposed to be the brute, he's kind of like observant and things of that nature. And I mean, I just got Charlotte, but I like her as a character too. She adds flavor to the party and everything of that nature as a female character, and everything of that nature. So, just like the combat dialogue and everything, even though it's funny, it's just like it adds so much flavor to the game. And then the story is very cut and dry, right? Like, their village gets attacked, or their colony gets attacked by the Maconas, and so far, from what I understand, and they want to go kill that Maconas. Like, that's the entire. I mean, that's that story so far. I know more stuff is gonna come, and I'm waiting for that. But it's just like, I can explain that to my girlfriend, and she's like, "Oh, okay, I understand." And like, that's your objective and everything of that nature. Whereas like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, honestly, I kind of forgot the story. Like, I know you're supposed to take Pyra to some tree or some shit like that. Like, I don't fucking care.
It's basically like you're basically a fugitive immediately, because like you whatever. He bonds with the Aegis, who is Pyra, right? And that's a really important blade within the universe of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And this like mercenary group, I don't even want to call them that necessarily, but they wanted her in the first place, and now they're pissed that you took her, so they're chasing you the whole fucking game. And whatever. I don't know.
It is like a little subplot going on.
Yeah, there's like a million subplots happening, and like, Nia's like fucking something, and she's not actually that, and
exactly. It's just it's just a lot.
This game gets that way too. Trust me, it does. I just think it builds up to that kind of stuff a lot better than Xenoblade Chronicles 2 does. Like,
and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not throwing all the plots. It's not sowing all the seeds so early. Like, in my opinion, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, they do too much too early.
Dude. No, you know what's funny? It is sowing the seeds. You just don't know it yet. Like, if you play through the game again, like playing through it, having beat it already, and like playing through this story, is like, I am seeing so many little hints in the game of like what's to come, and it's so fucking brilliantly done, dude. It's like foreshadowing, and it's so good, man. So I don't know. Do you want to talk spoilers real quick of what you've played so far? Because I think it's just, there's, as much as we've only played like 15, 20 hours, it's like, I feel like the story's so impactful right away. I kind of want to talk about it a little bit.
You can talk about the first 20 hours. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna be talking spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled in this game, which I really recommend if you haven't played this game, just skip ahead,
just skip
10
ahead.
or 15 minutes, because this game is so worth playing blind. Like, it really is. So for me, what you were saying about the first 5 hours and like really learning about Dunban and Fiora and Shulk and Ryan, dude, really resonated with me because that is how I feel. Is that I just think the setup for the Mechon attack at the beginning of the game is so fucking good that they dedicated like 3 or 4 hours of time to building these characters up. So when that moment happens, like it actually impacts you as a player, you know? Like,
yeah.
That moment when Fiora gets killed is just so fucking powerful to me because you really feel Shulk's fucking grief, dude. Like you can tell they have a really deep relationship with each other, and it's like, you know, they're like flirting with each other and stuff, and it's like kind of cute and everything, but you can tell they really fucking care about each other, like Fiora and Shulk.
Yeah.
And when she gets killed, it's just like, you don't expect it. Because you think of JRPGs and you just don't expect this kind of thing out of them, you know, where they immediately kill a character that seems like she's going to be so vital to the fucking plot, you know?
And that's what was so crazy about it, because I really grown attached to her somehow, and
yeah.
I didn't even realize until she died.
Endearing. She's so endearing. Like, she really is, like, right away. And yeah, and they just rip it from you. It's awesome. Like, it's awesome.
Well, I think what really helped it was the I think they call it the heart to hearts.
Yes.
So when you have the heart to heart moment with her, I think that really solidified it with it. Not only that, but you know, you see her taking care of Dunbar and everything of that nature. But when you had the heart to heart with her, that really like solidified this character. I'm like, oh man, and you get to play as her temporarily if you want to. So I'm pretty sure there are going to be some players out there that do play with her, do some of the side quest, and then, you know, obviously when this moment hits, they're gonna be like, what the fuck?
Well, dude, because you get attached to her from a gameplay standpoint, because she is a cool character to control.
Yeah, exactly.
That early game, and because I took advantage of that moment. Like, this time, I played exclusively as her that first section of the game, and she's really fun to play as. But so it's like, yeah, if you decided to do that as somebody playing blind and you just lose her, you're like, fuck, I gotta play Shulk again. Like, damn it, you know?
Yeah, because she's like this dual wielding rogue type character, and it's like, I was like, oh man, she's pretty fast and cool. And then like you said, she just gets taken away. And I do remember that from playing, because I did get further in the original gameplay on the 3DS. It's just I don't think I was really invested into the story, because maybe the graphics was turning me off. I don't know why. But
playing on handheld, dude, I think is a bad choice for this game. This is such a cinematic game that I am not gonna play this in handheld mode on the Switch. Like, I'm just not, like, because I just view this game as like so cinematic. I have to have that full audio visual experience of a TV. Yeah,
and like you said, when Colony 9 gets attacked and, you know, the Mechon comes down and kills her, and like I felt Shulk's fucking emotions and everything of that nature. Like, he felt it felt really desperate. And I remember you were talking about a while ago, maybe when we were talking about Xenoblade Chronicles 2, you were talking about Xenoblade Chronicles 1, and you were talking about how this moment felt to you. And I never understood it until now when I felt it, and I'm like, holy shit, like, that's probably why I like Shulk so much, because he has so much emotion.
Yeah,
raw emotion.
He's raw,
to him.
Dude.
Yeah,
like, he doesn't hold it back. And yeah, that scene that I was talking about was that one where Fiora gets killed, right? Like, it's just a perfect scene in a video game to me. Like, it has everything to like really evoke something out of a player, because like you said, you had the build up, and if you played as Fiora, like you feel that from a gameplay standpoint, you're losing something. You're literally losing something, you know? And then, but not only that, if you like this character and you like the other characters, like the impact it has on them too, you feel that, you know, immediately. And it's just the scene itself is so wonderfully like choreographed, you know, and the voice acting is fucking perfect for the whole thing. Like, dude, this voice cast is just
really fucking good. Like, I can't play this shit in Japanese. I don't know how people do it.
They knocked it out of the park with this voice cast, dude. Like, Shulk's voice actor is incredible. Fiora's is great, you know. Like, Ryan, as funny as he is, I think his voice actor is genuinely very good as well, and so is Dunban's, you know.
Yeah.
And I really think like that scene just like typifies why, because the second she gets killed, you know, you have this like really cinematic moment where he fucking like slow-mo stabs her through the fucking mech, and then he picks it up with the claws and just tosses it behind him, and all these fucking Mechon are like crawling on top of it like zombies trying to eat her corpse.
That's
or whatever.
another thing about this fucking game, right? I didn't know. I mean, like I said, I played it. I think you're right. When you played them in handheld, you're kind of distracted with
Right,
stuff and everything of
right.
that nature. This game is fucking dark as fuck.
Yeah,
How is this
man.
game on Nintendo?
It's
Because the
awesome,
opening
dude.
scene, the opening scene when you're with Dunbar and you have
Yeah.
he has a Monado, like everyone's getting killed and like you
Hmm.
see Mechon stabbing them and eating them and
Yep.
everything. I'm like,
It's
what
like a
the
desperate
fuck?
last stand, and it's like
Exactly.
that one guy gets like 50 million like red dots on his face and gets murdered, it's like holy shit, dude. So yeah, you get that scene, right? You're like they're fucking climbing up the mech trying to eat her corpse or whatever, and then you get the like straight up shot of Metal Face and you see them behind him like climbing on top of it trying to eat her corpse or whatever, and then you see the blood on the fucking claws or
Yeah,
whatever.
man. Yeah,
And
this
then
game's
and then
fucking dark.
Shulk literally fucking loses it in that moment. He's just like he just screams this raw emotional scream. I'll kill you. Like literally just that's it. I'll kill you, and then you go straight into combat. And it's fucking perfect, man. It's so good. It's so cinematic. I know I'm fanboying really hard right now, but like
But
video games just don't do this, and specifically JRPGs don't do this. They really
well,
don't.
they built up tension, right? Because you have the ability to look up, to see the future. So
Mm-hmm.
far, when you had the Milano and you saw things happen, you can prevent it. So
Yep.
I'm thinking this whole time, I'm like, okay, he can prevent what's going to happen. Like something,
Yep.
some trope is going to happen where he's just like he's going to do it, and it never comes, and you're just like you're sitting there with
He's
him, and you're just
powerless.
like, yeah, you're powerless, and then
Yep.
you fight him, Metal Face, and then you're even more powerless. Like
Yeah, in
even with the
gameplay, you're powerless. You
yeah.
can't hurt him. Like you literally can't hurt him. You know, I love that. I really love that. Like that in gameplay that these things translate into gameplay too. Like this helplessness, that feeling of helplessness, like translates there. And I think that part about the Monado, right? We're seeing the future, right? You think it's going to be like this gimmick that the characters always use to come out on top, and it's like it's not really always like that.
Exactly.
These visions don't play out the way the game kind of implies they're going to. You get like there's one coming up for you that you're gonna get. It's gonna be like a fake out. You're gonna be like, oh shit, like what the fuck, it's like it keeps happening throughout the game. They do a really good job with that plot element of not abusing it to the main character's advantage. And I love that part of it too, is because it seems like a really powerful ability, right? You can see the
Yeah.
future, but you can like you think about it practically, right? Like you see this vision and it's so easy to just get absorbed in it and not know what to do, to prevent that future you saw. So like as the game progresses, it is a really cool ability that you'll see used more and more. And I like that as well. But yeah, that scene is really powerful. But I really like after that though, the game like kind of cools down afterwards for a while. And I think that's a really good choice because they hit you so hard there. I think you really need that cooldown period as a player.
That is true. Yeah.
That's another thing is the pacing in this game is really good, dude. Like it's really good. Like they don't overload you. And they introduce new characters slowly. You don't get new party members at like a breakneck pace like some JRPGs. And actually, I do want to mention too one more thing about Fiora's death. That like afterwards, like the day after when they were about to leave, and like Dunban's like looking out the window at them, and he's like, when I'm healed, I'm gonna be right behind you, boys, or whatever. And it's like you can feel the three of them like are just so in sync with this, and it's like it's such a pure motivation for them to go on an adventure, like they just want to kill these Mechon. Like that's it. It's as simple as that. There's nothing more existential than that. The reason
That's
they
how you write
leave,
a plot for a video game. Like you just make it simple. Like the
and you
plot
build
right now.
layers later with events that happen, right?
Exactly. Like I feel like I don't know who wrote Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but I feel like they tried to just one up themselves a little bit too much, and they put too many subplots into it. Because I'm just comparing those two games. I don't know. Like with this one, yeah, Fiora got killed. Nah, I really want to go kill him. Why are the Mechon back? I thought we killed all of them. I need to go kill them all. That's
Right.
it. And then as you progress, then things start to unfold. You start to figure like why is my there's another Metal Face, and why aren't my fucking Monados killing them or hurting them at all? And it's just I'm waiting to see the more of the layers peel back. I'm just waiting for it.
Dude, there's so
Whereas,
much, man.
yeah,
You've barely even peeled back the first layer of the onion. Like, that's what's so funny about this. Is you have so much game. You have so much game ahead of you. It's insane. Like, it's fucking crazy.
Because it's like I do remember when JRPGs used to be simple and they layered it on top of that. Like this one game, my first JRPG I played, which was Evolution for the Dreamcast, it did that, right? It kind of layered like, okay, you have your main character and then you have this girl who's not really yours. It's kind of like your stepsister, your parents found her in ruins and stuff like that. And then you got to go to these dungeons and do these ruins, get these artifacts, sell these artifacts to the museum to pay off your parents' debt. That's the game, right? And then as you progress, you start to learn more stuff about your stepsister and all this other stuff like that, and the conspiracy behind everything, and the little, it's like the empire that's running the land, and they just layer that on. But when you just first power up the game, nothing tells you anything about that. Like that's not anywhere within the game. Where I feel like a lot of these other JRPGs, it's just like a Persona. It's just like the game starts off with your main character getting interviewed by the cops. Like you're escaping from the cops, and then you're getting interviewed, and then you're telling the story to the cops and everything like that. And it's just like
they're like so excited that they have this awesome plot, and they like cannot contain themselves.
Exactly.
They're like, oh, we actually have a good video game plot. We have to make sure the players know that immediately.
Yeah.
It's like, whereas like with Xenoblade Chronicles, like it just kind of happens really organically. Like it feels really organic. The progression of events.
And there's not like any. There's not really any. In my opinion, for right now, there isn't really any nuance within this story. It's just like a nice little not innocent story, but a nice little dark story. It doesn't have any like kind of a side. It doesn't mean anything. Like for Final Fantasy VII, obviously the whole thing is capitalism and environmentalism and everything of that nature. Like there's none of that right now. There's none of that for me. It's just like a simple story where I can escape into this world.
That's why Final Fantasy VII Remake, I think, was so good to me too, because it has a similar structure to it. Where the beginning of the game is so simple, right? It's like Cloud's a mercenary; he's just doing a fucking job, and then he starts to like these people, and he gets embroiled in their shit, and then they start like really impacting the world. They're fucking going up the Shinra Tower, and then like then the crazy shit starts happening at the end. And I feel like the next two games are going to be like even crazier, right? But that's the same progression that happens with Xenoblade Chronicles, So I think that's a good video game story. So how do you feel about the game, like adventuring so far, though, like questing, the quest system, and all that stuff?
I don't have any problems with it. I like it so far. I mean, they're pretty much fetch quest, or you go kill 10 here, kill 5 here, or whatever. I did have one issue with one quest. I had to kill these little wisps, and sometimes the items don't drop. The only problem with this quest was the wisps. The wisps are like spread out across the entire fucking map. So like, if the item didn't drop, it takes me like 2 minutes to go to the next one to kill it, and I'm like, oh my fucking god. So that was the only problem I had so far. That was a mild annoyance. As far as one thing I do like this game, it's unforgiving. Like if you can't fight a level 10 monster, you can't fight it. You have to level up and fight it. And I love that shit. I love how there's level 78 threats everywhere.
Walking around, right? You have to walk around them,
Yeah, and the game really doesn't scale up for you. Like it is what it is at that point. So I really do appreciate like that from like a classical JRP standpoint, where I have to watch out for certain hazards. Certain parts of the map are closed off because I will explore, and then I'll just see a group of like level 78s and above, and I'm like, oh, okay, can't go over there yet. So I turn around. So I do like that, and I think a lot of games do miss that point because they just want open exploration. They want it to be accessible to everybody. Like I did get that from, I don't know if we talked about it, from like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where like I was playing on hard mode, so I don't know if it's like the same or normal or whatever, but like a level 5 enemy was whooping my ass at level 1, and I could not go to that level 5 area until I became level 5. And I appreciate that from a gameplay standpoint. This game does that too, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think the side quests, I think so what is like the story and everything else in this game, they're there are layers to the onion of side quests. I think side quests at first blush present themselves as something really boring and like uninspired, because it's just like you said, fetch quests, go kill 2 bunnies, go kill 2 fucking, flamingo looking enemies, get go grab a couple collectibles or whatever. But the thing is like the side quest system in this game is actually really fucking deep. It's insane how deep it is. Like it's stupidly deep to the point. Like I don't know why it's this deep, but it's like because I don't remember Xenoblade Chronicles 2 did this. I straight up forget, frankly.
They did have reputation.
Yes, it did. But I don't think it was like this, where like it was like general reputation for an area based on how many quests you did and what quests you did and like some of the other stuff you did. This game, like there is an affinity chart for every area in the game, like every main town or whatever in the game, and you will get little like icons for every NPC that you talk to in those areas that has like a name, like a named NPC. There's plenty of NPCs walking around that are just like Colony 9 resident or whatever, but there's ones that have names, like actual human names. Those ones go in the affinity chart, and they have relationships with one another. Like if you read the dialogue when you're talking to them, they'll reference one of the other residents, and then you'll get a little affinity ding. You'll get affinity points for talking to them and getting that dialogue. And then if you go into the affinity chart, you'll see like a line between those 2 NPCs saying what their relationship is, and as you do things, like as you do side quests, those relationships will change. Those NPCs will move locations. They'll have different dialogue. They will completely go to a different place entirely, like a different town at certain points, depending on, what quests you're doing. Like it's kind of insane how deep it gets, even though it seems so simple at first blush. So yeah, that's something I just like, I want to point out here because I think a lot of people don't like doing side quests in certain games. And, that happens to me sometimes, but this is just not one of those games. Like this is a game where I really think it's really rewarding to do all the side content.
Okay.
And I'd really recommend it because not only does it affect the town and where people are, but it also affects items you can buy. Certain like quests will be unlocked when you do other ones. Like there are actual quest chains that follow these characters and kind of like you interact with them more in the future and stuff. So I'd recommend that. There are time gates where if you go past certain parts in the story, you will lose access to certain quests. The game does tell you this, but so I'd recommend doing as much as you can in every place you get to when you get there. Don't wait.
I have so far. I have been clearing what I can.
I'd recommend you keep doing that. I know it's going to be like a slog at certain points, particularly in the mid game. There's a couple towns in the mid game that are fucking crazy, like how many quests they have. It's nuts. But I just think it's so worth doing though, like because by the end of the game, like you've like when you unlock everything, you really get like you'll see how these communities kind of interact with each other. Like weirdly enough, like they end up actually intersecting. They're not just like siloed places. So yeah, that's an interesting part to it. And I do think a lot of the exploring too is actually really good in this game too. Like it's the basis for their other 2 games, obviously. So you can see how they've evolved it over time. But you know how the game has like all these unique monsters that you can fight or whatever.
Yeah,
I love the system in this game for it because you literally get like progression coins, like the affinity coins. Every time you kill a unique monster, you get an affinity coin. And those coins let you use skills from other characters on each of your characters, right? So you can use like some of Ryan's abilities with Shulk, and you can use.
I guess that's the part I want to discuss. Like some things I am confused about, like that chart where it's like between Shulk and Ryan, and then you can do one between Ryan and Shulk, or Ryan and Charla, and then Charla and Shulk, and things of that nature. I don't get that part. And then the other thing I don't get is how when you start a battle, like the beat icon radius thing comes up. What does that do?
Okay, so I'll start with the first one. So like towns, there's an affinity chart for the party as well. And that one is a lot simpler than the one for towns. It's literally just how much do the characters like each other. And there's 5 levels of affinity. And that gives you leveling up your affinity between 2 characters gives you various things. So It can unlock heart-to-hearts throughout the world. You need to have certain affinity levels to view certain events, like heart-to-heart events between party members.
Yeah.
And B, it gives you an additional slot for skill links. I don't know if you've actually messed with this yet because you probably just unlocked it like very recently.
Yeah,
But
that's what I want to talk about, the skill links. I think that's what I'm trying to
so the skill tab, the one where you have like the 3 different columns, right?
Yeah.
If you hit ZR or whatever on that, you'll go to skill links, and that allows you to take abilities from other characters from their skill trees. So that's how you kind of customize your characters in this game, is through that system, right? And the affinity coins, every ability that you can access has a certain affinity coin cost, and you get affinity coins when you level up and when you kill a unique monster. So those are the 2 ways you get them. So, and that allows you to equip more abilities, basically. So it's fairly simple once you wrap your head around it, but it does seem intimidating at first blush. So you can raise affinity through doing quests together with the party. You can raise affinity through gifting items to each other between party members, which I believe you can do through the affinity menu, or it might be the collectibles menu. I don't remember. And then you also gain affinity just in combat, fighting together as a party. And yeah, so in combat, that B thing that happens a lot, that is a affinity burst. And what that does is basically if you hit the icon while it's in the circle, like you hit the little circle coming inside the circle that the B's on, you'll get a tension bonus. And tension, I'd recommend going to the wiki for this to get like exact values, but there's a whole morale system that is tension, basically. And you notice how sometimes when you're fighting, your characters, like their portraits will be like, like, oh, like they're sad or whatever. Or they look like they're like, downtrodden or don't have high morale or whatever. That is literally affecting your ability to fight when that happens. And that's what that B does. So when you open combat, like you don't let the enemy attack you first. When you initiate combat before you're actually engaged with them, that will always come up, and it gives you an opportunity to immediately get some tension to start the fight, get yourself on a positive foot. If you hit it in the inside, you get 50 tension. If you hit it right before it's about to get to the outer edge of that circle, you'll get 100 tension. And there's a cap of 250 tension, I think, and there's various levels between negative 250, I think, and 250 of tension and what it does. So it's actually really important for combat and your effectiveness in combat. The higher your tension is, the higher your hit rate's going to be. You're going to have a higher critical hit rate and things like that. I think you also have a higher dodge rate and stuff. So it's really important for combat. Like, don't ignore that. Like, if you see the B, obviously I'm sure you do it. But
yeah, I do it.
Like,
I never
understanding the importance behind it. Though, it's like,
the game really doesn't do a good job, in my opinion, of like telling you the importance behind all that. So
it doesn't explain to you what any of the stats do, which is frustrating. That is definitely one of the biggest flaws in this game. It's like, I don't fucking know what agility does. I'm pretty sure it's related to dodge, but I'm not sure.
I was gonna ask you that. Like, I don't, because I'm trying to make maybe Shulk be my like kind of DPS character, but I don't know. If agility gives me attack boost or strength gives me attack boost. Okay.
I think agility mainly focuses on dodge. I don't think it has any effect on critical hit rate. That is a literal stat that you can get on items in gems. So I don't think it has an effect on crit rate. I'm pretty sure it's just dodge that it has an effect on. So it's definitely an important stat, but I think for Shulk, like if you're planning on using him as DPS, which you probably should, that's really what his role is. Strength is probably more important than anything on him. Because the way the game works, like your abilities come off cooldown so much, like higher damage is always better,
Yeah.
So I think that's probably his primary stat, the one you want to focus on the most. I do put some agility in him too. Because if I do get targeted, I don't want him to die in one hit. So kind of thing. But so yeah, that is definitely a really important thing. I would definitely recommend like reading up on tension a little bit more. I explained it, but I think it's even more in depth than I explained, really. It's really important for your tank to have high tension for Rhine. So that's definitely something to keep in mind.
I guess that's my issue. Because sometimes, Ryan does a really good job at tanking and keeping aggro, but he loses it a lot to Shulk, to my Shulk rather. So
Yeah.
And that's because sometimes I do like really high damage moves. Sometimes my moves can do up to 6,000 damage so far.
Yeah.
So it's like I understand why sometimes they may lose aggro, but it's like I don't know if I need to. I try to up his aggro moves and everything of that nature so he can, keep aggro. But I don't know if I need to up his strength stat so he can do enough damage to keep the threat, or
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, so yeah, early game Ryan he's a decent enough tank, and fortunately you're able to take enough hits early game that him losing aggro is not that big of a deal, really. But he's he gets aggro primarily from his mad taunt talent ability. The one that's in the middle, like the Monado or whatever.
Yeah.
For him, that's primarily how he draws aggro. He has a few abilities that do generate aggro as well, just innately, but for the most part, he's getting it from Mad Taunt and the damage that he does. So I don't know if he has an inherent aggro buff over other characters, like he generates more inherently, like some MMOs do that with tank classes. I'm not sure about that. I don't really think so, which might be why he seems so ineffective sometimes. It's really, you just kind of have to manage it on your own, really. Like if you feel like combat just starts, right? You don't want to immediately open up with a backslash because you're just going to get aggro. Like, it's just the way it's going to go. So unless you're willing to do that, you probably shouldn't do it that way, right? Start with like some of the more slower moves. I genuinely don't care that much. I just I do the slit edge one that like lowers their defense, and then I just do a backslash like fucking immediately. And if the enemy turns on me, I just use the shadow eye to drop aggro. And it works fairly well for the most part. And by that point, the enemy's like probably close to dead anyways, so it doesn't really matter that much. So yeah, it's aggro management's a little weird. You are going to get a couple more tank characters later in the game that do their version of aggro differently than Ryan. So it's really kind of deciding which one of them you want to use. I don't personally like Ryan into the later game. I don't think he's great. I think the fact that he's more about mitigation doesn't really work super well in Xenoblade Chronicles, in my opinion, later in the game. But your mileage might vary with that depending on how you play and how you build them. So, yeah. And then for me, in terms of things I haven't liked so far, it's not much, but there are a couple things. I do think the menus are like they're fine. I just it's so weird how it's so hard to get menus right though. I feel like I go into the menu a fucking lot, and I just kind of wish there was a shortcut key for certain sub menus, like the changing the time one. Like, dude, I need that hot buttoned on something, like hot mapped on something, because I open that constantly.
Yeah. So for a definitive edition, like I don't. Okay, I'm not gonna say like I don't feel like anything's definitive. Like it is definitely some improvements, particularly the graphics and everything of that nature.
Yeah.
That's like a huge improvement in everything of that nature.
They remastered the music too, which is actually one of the things I'm gonna get into that I don't like.
Oh, you don't like that? Well, I didn't play the original. I mean, I played the original, but obviously I can't remember the music. But I fucking love the music.
Finish your thought, though. Sorry.
I'm surprised, which I thought they were gonna do for this game, because I did play the originals, and I wanted hotkeys for the moves, like when you're in battle, and you can have certain hotkeys for them. And I'm kind of disappointed they don't have that.
I am too, for sure. Because when you're playing Shulk, sometimes, dude, you get in this situation where you need to move him, and you need to pick a different ability, and both of those, like the stick and the D-pad, are on the left side of this controller. So
yeah,
you can really only do one or the other unless you take your hand off the face buttons. And yeah, I agree that can really get you into sticky situations sometimes when you use the wrong ability, or you don't you don't get to the one you're trying to hit in time because it's so far away. It's like, I definitely think that is a little disappointing. They didn't add like shortcuts or keys. Maybe they did. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we're just stupid. I don't know.
It could be in the menus, dude. I don't know. I haven't really looked, but yeah. But with the music, so they've remastered not every song in the game, but a large number of them. And I would say largely I like the remastered versions of the tracks a lot. But there is one particular track that they remastered that I really, really don't like the new version for. And fortunately, they did put an option in the game to use the old audio track actually for music. Apparently, that I learned this today. So I may swap it to that depending on, my feelings on this. I don't know. There's one song. So the song that plays during the metal face fights, that song, I think the remaster of it is just not great. I think the song is called One Who Gets in Our Way, right? And do you know the song I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. The new version of it is it's like higher pitch, and it just doesn't sound right for what that song is supposed to be to me. The original version of it was really metal and hard, and I just think it fits the theme and the atmosphere they're going for with things a lot better than this new version. This new version is more like airy and almost like I saw a comment about it actually. Somebody said like, and this is like a perfect way to encapsulate this, like it doesn't fill your ears, at times. And I feel like it's not like filling the way it's supposed to, in the original one. It's like,
I understand how you feel.
Yeah.
And
it's just, I don't know. It sucks because it's literally my favorite song in the fucking game, and it plays at like almost every boss fight. It's like,
so you can change that back to the original, right?
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking about doing it, because it's such a prevalent track and it's such an important track, I think, to the game.
Yeah.
Because I think the original one, and I'd recommend you go listen to the original one later. Because I just think it just sounds so much better. It's like a really heavy rock, like heavy metal kind of vibe to it. It's like it's way harder, and it feels like mechanical the way the enemies you're fighting are when that song plays. Like they're mechon. So it feels like a really good theme for mechanical enemies that are like really overpowering too, that are like overwhelming, like you feel hopeless kind of thing. So so that's like one thing that's like kind of been disappointing me. The other tracks are great. Like I think the Colony 6 or Colony 9 field themes are great. I think the Gar Plains theme is fucking excellent, just like it was in the original game, but this remix version is really, really good too. Like I'm literally like humming it as I'm just fucking running around questing, and my wife's like, "You've been humming this song for like 30 minutes." Like, and I'm like, I can't help it. It's just so good. Like this is literally one of the best video game soundtracks I've ever heard. It's like,
yeah, I know. Sometimes I can. So obviously, guys, we're running a YouTube channel with each other, and sometimes he's logged into the Players Take YouTube, and I can see the history, and I see Xenoblade Chronicles tracks all the way down the history.
That's awesome, dude. Oh, that's great. Oh man, I gotta be careful with that shit, dude. But no, yeah. I mean, dude, I have a playlist like of video game music on YouTube, and a lot of it's Xenoblade stuff. So, but the music later in the game is just as good. Like it doesn't really let up in terms of how good it is. It's
I think this game is very underrated as far as JRPGs. Like I never really hear it in a conversation of like greatest JRPG of all time.
It's because people haven't played it. That's why.
Yeah.
It's not a slight on the game, I don't think. I think if they had played it, a lot of people would probably agree with us.
I think now that people have played this game, I think in the next 2-3 years, this will be in a conversation for like, up there, because the music is really good. Like sometimes I hear adventure music and JRPGs, and I'm like, oh my god, okay, I'm tired.
It's just like some ugly, horrible loop,
It's
monotonous almost. You want to kill yourself after like 10 hours of it.
But this music is like, even though it's the remix version, I haven't heard the original. Like I love it, and I love the battle music and everything like that. Like when you start the battle music, the guitar comes like, and it's just really fucking cool. So I like everything about the game. It's just weird because I remember my friend told me about this game a long time ago. And that's why I actually bought Xenoblade Chronicles X, because he told me about Xenoblade Chronicles. He's like, "You never played Xenoblade Chronicles?" And I'm like, "Nah, I never played that." He's like, "You should go play it." So I tried to play it. Unfortunately, like I said, I was late to the party, and I already had the expectation for graphics, and it was just ugly in my opinion. I didn't want to touch it anymore. And then I tried to play it again when the 3DS version came out. But I played Xenoblade Chronicles X, and I love that game. I just really wish I played it the way I play Xenoblade now, because if I had known like it was an MMO style system, I would have approached that game a lot differently. The mindset of that game a lot differently. But But like I said, Xenoblade Chronicles X was my first Xenoblade, so I had no idea what I was getting into.
Yeah.
And when I bought that game as well, I was really starting to get into like JRPGs because I had the money and I could start going back and playing these past games that I missed and everything of that nature. So I was playing a variety of JRPGs at the time. And yeah, Xenoblade just really stuck out for me. And Xenoblade Chronicles X. But it's just funny that I never really heard this game. As far as story-wise, like, I never really heard a conversation of this game being really good story-wise. Because so far, this story is fucking phenomenal. Like, it's just such, I don't know how to describe it to people, but it's just such a breath of fresh air to have a simple ass story. But I mean, like I said, I know stuff is going to get layered onto it later on. But it's just so refreshing to have a simple story with the great voice acting and a great plot, and it just carried itself in the really great pace and has great pacing and everything of that nature. And sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can just, I mean, you can just reinvent the wheel. You don't have to make entirely different wheel. And that's what I like about this game. Like, it's just playing to the strengths of all the tropes of JRPGs, and they're just doing it well. They're not trying to, make a different wheel or even reinvent it. They're just doing the wheel really good. And I like that. Like,
yeah. And they have their own style. They have their own style around it, Like the combat system is fairly unique for a single player game, but like, I mean, it's not that crazy. It's like Final Fantasy 12 12 kind of did something like this in the past. It's not exactly like this, but it's like Xenoblade's version of that. So yeah, I mean, I think this like, I've been saying this for years, but Xenoblade to me is Nintendo's Final Fantasy. Like, that's what I view it as. And frankly, to me, I think it's better than Final Fantasy for the most part. And I am so happy that it has gotten an audience, and Nintendo is fully behind this studio. Like Monolith Soft is one of their most important studios, like in their entirety of everything they have as a publisher, And it just makes me so happy that happened, because this was a game, if people remember this from back in like 2008, 2009, that we weren't even going to get, like we had to fucking petition Nintendo and be like,
really?
Bring this game over. Yeah, dude, go look this up. There were 3 JRPGs. It was one called The Last Tower, I think, or was it? No, The Last Wish, Pandora's Tower, and then Xenoblade Chronicles. They were 3 JRPGs that we really wanted on the Wii. That like were on the Wii. They were in Japan, and people in the United States wanted them really fucking bad, dude. And like there was a shitload of online petitions to like get these games made. The other 2 were, I never played them. I didn't really care about them, but Xenoblade Chronicles is the one that like really stuck, and put Monolith Soft really on the map. As much as they were on the map, they've made great games before Xenoblade Chronicles. I think this was the one, though, that really solidified how quality of a developer they are. And I just love the fact that it's kind of blossomed into this thing where they've made 2 more Xenoblade games, and they're both really good. And they're probably making another one right now, and it's like, this is a franchise for Nintendo. This is literally a franchise for Nintendo. And like, they feel that way about it. Like they're behind it,
Yeah. I just feel like a lot of people didn't play there. To me, I didn't know they made another game until I like kind of met you, and you're like, oh yeah, they made Baten Kaitos, right? And I'm like, fuck, I love that game.
Yeah, man. Like, oh, holy shit, right? And dude, they made the Xenosaga games too.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people love the Xenosaga games. I never played them, but I know a lot of people love them. But to me, the Baten Kaitos game, I really loved that game for the card system, and it's just how progressive it was as far as how it taught you how to play the game. And it was just
the way it layered mechanics on was so good, and the story was good in that game too.
Yeah, and it was just, to me, it was the perfect like JRPG card game. I've never played another card game like that as far as JRPG wise. In gaming, in my gaming history. So it's just like, I wish like they can remaster those games. But I mean, I'm glad they're getting their just desserts now. But it's just like, I wish they would have got it back then, because they would have been the rival studio for Square Enix. Like,
really, they could have been. I mean, they kind of are in a way. I just love the fact that like Nintendo has a JRPG studio that's like better than almost anything out there. It's funny to me because they're a company that like abandoned the JRPG in the N64 days. Like, I mean, I remember that was a console. We were literally starved for JRPGs, for RPGs, period, on the N64. I remember when the first one came out, Quest 64, and it was trash. And we were all like just desperate for your RPGs though, because there literally wasn't one. And here we are now, and it's like they have a company making some of the best shit in the industry, you know, from that genre. And it just makes me happy to know that like they have a place and they're not going anywhere. Like I feel like Monolith Soft is growing. They're getting bigger. Like they're
I feel like they're a very modest company. Like
they are.
Like they don't really.
I think they have 100 to 150 people, maybe.
Well, as far as like being in the spotlight, right? Like you really
yeah.
don't hear about like you hear about Platinum Games and you hear about the Square Enix Studios and Nomura and everything of that nature, but you don't really hear like, oh man, Monolith Soft is doing this and they're doing that, and you just don't hear it. Like they have their hands in, like we were talking about on we mentioned a couple times on the podcast and previously, they have their hands in so many projects for Nintendo.
Yep.
You had to go back and look it up. Like they had their hands in creating
Zelda, Breath of the Wild, like literally. Yep.
And I think Pokemon as well. They helped them do some stuff in Pokemon.
So yeah, Breath of the Wild, Smash Bros. They've helped on 2 different Smash Bros. Games. Pokemon they helped with. I believe they also helped with a Mario Tennis game. One of the Mario Tennis games, I think. When they came out on Switch recently. I know they've helped with a lot of first party Nintendo stuff. They're very important for that reason, which is kind of why they probably get to make these Xenoblade games. It's like their fun little side project, because they are a vital studio for Nintendo, in terms of making their core IPs. So I think that's what I like about them, though. They are under the radar, and it's like they're actually like they feel like they're humble, even though we never hear them talk really. It's because they don't talk, it just like feels like they're a really humble studio that just like wants to make a good video game, and they just do,
Yeah,
it's like
they just let the game speak for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. There's no fanfare, there's no bullshit. Like, and even when they do DLC, they do it well,
Yeah.
Like with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, they had like a fucking 60-hour DLC that they ended up spinning off into its own game release. That's how big of a DLC they made. Like, they're fucking nuts, dude. So, and they do this stuff in a breakneck pace too. It's unbelievable to me how fast some of these games are coming out, Like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 came out 2 years after Xenoblade Chronicles X, and I still think that's insane, Like, that is just crazy to think about, because that game is huge,
Man, that game is fucking... That game is, like I said, that game's intimidating. And fucking Xenoblade Chronicles X is fucking huge. Like,
oh my god, dude, for real, man. I hope we get a remake of that. Like, I do hope we get a remake or a remaster at least.
I think we will. I do remember reading that the studio, he said, like, we need more support and everything of that nature. I think now they are on the map, and I think Nintendo is like, yo, just remake all your games or something like that.
Dude, I think a Ben Kato's remake or remaster or re-release is potentially in the cards at some point in the future. I don't know when. It has to be. But dude, that game is lost to time in a way that is so criminal. It's like you're talking about Xenoblade Chronicles not getting talked about. Fuck that, dude. Ben Katos never gets talked about. I never see anyone talking about that game, because that RPG, that JRPG, like, I love Xenoblade Chronicles. Ben Katos is right up there, dude. Like, for me, like it's legitimately, like, in terms of music, game design, story, everything. The only thing in that game that's bad is the English dub.
Yeah.
And that's it. Everything else is fucking amazing. Like, it's a great game. So, I hope we see it. I do. I really do. But even if we don't, whatever they make in the future, Xenoblade related or otherwise, I'm on board for, dude. This studio is just...
You know what? Because they haven't missed all their games. They haven't.
They haven't made a bad game. Think about that. Even with Xenosaga, I've never played them, and I know they're crazy with like 3-hour cutscenes, but like, nobody says they're bad games.
Yeah.
It's just like they're too much, kind of thing. But this game definitely has shades of that too, where there are cutscenes. Like, there was a cutscene I was doing yesterday. It was like literally 15 minutes of cutscenes, and like I played the game for like a minute, in the middle of that, and it's like Jesus Christ, It's and it's great though, but it's like, I'm sure some people are like, this is a little much. Like, I kind of want to just play the game, But
I did see some comments, and then actually my girlfriend shares the same sentiment. She's like, "Do the characters ever shut up?" And a lot of people in the comments was like, "I kind of avoid this game because the characters don't shut up."
This is where the meme came from. You know the meme, the one you sent me last week with
Yeah.
the Monado, you know, Monado boy, you know
Hey,
that.
I don't mind it because I'm used to playing Xenoblade. Because
Yeah.
actually in Xenoblade Chronicles X, they really didn't talk that much.
No, they didn't.
But
They actually didn't talk at all.
yeah, but in
that's a
Xenoblade
different
Chronicles
conversation.
2, yeah, in 2 though, they were always doing that, like, you know, man, human Halo.
Yay, Rex, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like Toro was some dumb shit Toro was saying or whatever.
This game, like the banner is so fucking funny.
Bro,
sometimes.
don't worry. There is a Nopon. You get a Nopon in your party. Don't you worry, Montrell. You get one, and he's fucking awesome.
Well, I always laugh because people say the meme from Smash Bros. I'm feeling it. Like I always, this is one meme I still have saved in my phone where it's like a paper and it's like it's like local man's really feeling it, and it shows Schultz.
It's in this game though. He says it, dude. He like, says it all the time. I'm feeling it. That's the tension thing. When your tension gets high enough, he says, "I'm really feeling it." You know, it's like, and then Ryan's like, you know, it's Ryan time or whatever, and it's just great. Like you eventually get to a point where you're like, I'm already at this point with Charla, Ryan, and Shulk where you've heard their voice lines a million times. And I just, you know, you can't do it anymore. But it's still like endearing though at the same time. Like it doesn't annoy me. Like I don't want to turn the voices off. But it is funny. It's just funny though.
For some reason, it doesn't annoy me either. I can understand somebody watching the game how that can be annoying, but it's just like to me that's just what this game is. Like I hear them say the same lines over and over again, but sometimes it sounds like it's all every time I'm battling. It sounds like it's fresh though. Like and it's weird. Like I don't know why that it is what it is, but this is the only game that really does that. I guess besides like RTSs and MOBAs where you constantly click in, you hear the characters talk, and they may say some of the same lines over and over again.
MMO maybe, you know.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's just really funny that a lot of people some people are turned off by that game. Whereas like in other games, I can't stand it. Like in Persona, there's this one character, Morgana, where she's like something that she keeps saying something about Joker and like, Joker, you're really into it or something like that. I'm like, shut the fuck up. God damn.
I love it, man. I eat this shit up, man. It's such a JRPG trope. It's just, I kind of love it at this point. And I love that Xenoblade, I feel like they do it on purpose. Like, I think they make it as obnoxious as possible, literally on purpose. Like, I don't think, like, it just, I don't know. It just feels that way to me. Like, cause it's so obnoxious, you know? It's like, how many times am I going to hear Ryan go, Charla, did you see what I did? Did you see what I did? And Charla's like, oh, I wasn't looking. And he's like, oh, come on. You know, and then all fucking laugh. Like, I've heard that like 15 times already, you know? It's like, but it's like, I don't know. It's just fun though that they even put that in there, you know? Cause it's like, that's more effort than most games would put, you know?
Yeah.
You'd have like 2 voice lines, you know, and that's what gets annoying is when you hear the same 2 voice lines over and over again. At least there's a little bit of diversity with this game, you know. I will say though, the characters calling out their moves every time they use a move, it's kind of the part that makes it memey because it's like backslash 10 seconds later, backslash slit edge, air slash, you know, it's like fucking, it's hilarious.
This is the power of the Monado.
Yeah, right. Monado, show us your power. Shadow Eye, you know, and then you fucking Ryan going wild down, you know, every time you break something.
I think it's the accents too. Like I love Xenoblade.
It's great.
Both of the games, right? I love how they didn't use American accents. They use like English or
right.
For Nina, I really love Nina because she's like a Scottish accent or Irish accent.
Oh yeah, Nia was great, dude.
Yeah,
like one of my favorite characters in 2. And yeah, the voice actress was so good though. It was like it's just like it sounds so like authentic, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like American voice actors sometimes, and this isn't true of all of them. It's not fair, but I do feel like JRPGs they fall into this trap, and this is true in anime too, actually, where they're like really cringe. Because it just doesn't feel like they have any emotion behind their words. Whereas people with accents, I don't know why, but it always sounds like they have emotion behind their words, even if they don't, you know?
Yeah.
It's just because we're not used to that style of speaking, you know? We're not inundated with it all the time, so.
Well, you know, it's funny, right? So I enjoy Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and I enjoy the voice acting. Although I think Pyra and Mithra's voice are totally out of sync with the entire cast, in my opinion, because they
They're
have American
really,
accents,
yep.
and yeah, they're really like drab and like flat. Whereas everyone else has emotion, they have accents with their thing, with their sounds and with their voices and everything like that. But when I hear the American, even some of the villains, they have American accents, and it just sounds sometimes out of place. To where with this game, even the villains have American or English or UK accents or anything of that nature, and it sounds really in place with what this world is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Compared to like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, where I hear Pyra talk and she has this regular ass American accent like us.
Yep, or Malos or Jin, like those characters unfortunately really stuck out in that game as
Yeah.
kind of bad eggs, and unfortunately all three of them or four of them are fucking vital to the plot, and they're in like every cutscene. So it's like they kind of do bring the game down a little bit because of that, you know. And it's like it's nothing against the voice actors. I don't. The energy wasn't there the way it was with some of the other characters. I don't know why that is, but it wasn't. You know.
I think it's hard for like maybe Japanese directors to direct American accent actors, as far as like how they want to convey their emotions, to where maybe an English actor can actually understand what the Japanese director wants, or whatever's trying to get conveyed. I just think a lot of emotion gets conveyed better in Xenoblade Chronicles, to whereas if Shulk had an American accent, I'm not sure it would have been conveyed better, you know.
Dude, how good is this game's voice acting that they did not redub it?
Yeah.
Like they made a definitive edition of the game and they didn't redub the voice acting. Like that's how good it is. So that should tell you all you need to know. Like, and yeah, that in I was literally thinking about that over the weekend when I was playing. Is like, imagine this game with like one of those famous American voice actors who does a lot of anime, and I'm just like envisioning his voice. I'm like, oh, I can't even envision it. It just like sounds so gross to me. No offense to those guys, like they do good work, but it just wouldn't have fit this game, you know?
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. It came together perfectly. It really did. So, I mean, we're over an hour talking about this game.
All right.
We're gonna have a lot more to say about it in the coming weeks as we get deeper into it. Like, frankly, story related, as Montrell gets deeper in the game, and so I don't want to like overload it this week, even though we probably already did. But as you can tell, we really fucking like this game. If you like JRPGs, do yourself a service and just play this game, man. Like,
yeah, I definitely recommend it. It's definitely it.
Yeah, it's on another level. It really is. Like it's not amongst the pack of like garbage that like Tales most of the time. Like, you know, Tales, or like I don't know, some of those like lesser JRPGs that are released very often. It's in that upper echelon for sure. So if you want something quality, this is it for sure. All right. Let's move on. We don't have very much news to talk about this week because not much is going on, but we will discuss the few things we do have. So first story, we've been following this for a while with GeForce Now, the streaming service NVIDIA has, and how publishers have been opting or kind of taking their games off the service because they were never approached to have their games on the service beyond the beta. So when it came out for release, they were kind of pissed. Well, NVIDIA has kind of acquiesced, basically, at this point. They announced early in the month here, I think at the beginning of June, that they are going to be switching to an opt-in system for all games, so all companies and publishers basically will have to opt in order to have their game on the service. This probably makes it easier for them to manage. They don't have to worry about litigation or anything along those lines, so it does make sense for them. This is going to ding their service, though, for sure. I would say in terms of what's available, because they're gonna have to spend so much effort just reaching out to devs and publishers, being like, "Hey, you know, this game that was on there that they didn't care about, now they're gonna have to ask, you know, just to have it on there." So you know, that's gonna ding them for sure. I'm sure, though, this will probably bring some of those publishers back on potentially. But it is interesting how much turmoil there was with this.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't get why companies were upset about it, because you can only play games that you own. Mm-hmm. I guess they're scared of maybe some piracy type thing, or I don't know.
piracy. I don't know, maybe account sharing or something like that.
Yeah.
Like through GeForce Now, instead of, because Steam, it's kind of hard to account share in Steam, but yeah, so I could see that. I think it's also just the thing. Like, I don't think companies like their shit being available when they haven't been asked. It's kind of
Yeah,
one of
that's
those.
understandable. That's
Right.
understandable.
Yeah, because think about it, right? Like, think about our podcast, right? Like, say some new fucking service came up, and let's assume we were bigger than we are now, and somebody just like started uploading our episodes onto their service. Is like, no, like you're trying to use us to like make your service look better,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So I think it could be that too. They're trying. They don't want to be used by NVIDIA and get nothing out of it. So it's probably as simple as that, but. I would assume they'll start building things up now more often, or more than they have it at this current point. So it is just kind of an interesting like conclusion to this, though, that it took a few months for this to happen.
Yeah, I mean, because I think the service is great. It's just everyone's opting out, so it made the service, you can't play any games on it. So it makes
what's
sense
even
that
the point of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it makes sense that GeForce GeForce is trying to get back on it and get everyone back into it.
Mm-hmm. Right. All right. Let's move on to our next story. This one is, I want to say it's a big deal, but I guess we'll discuss it. So Paradox Interactive has agreed to sign a collective bargaining agreement with 200 union members in Sweden. And this deal, we didn't get like exact details of it, but they're going to be included in, any discussions related to pay, overtime, things like that, company culture within Paradox. They'll benefits and things like that as well. So this is a big deal within the game space because there are very few unions within the video game industry, particularly with developers. There obviously is a union for voice actors, but not for, I don't even know if there's any unions for developers, but I think there's some minor ones here and there, but nothing major, right? And this is a pretty big publisher / developer, Paradox. They have nearly 500 employees in their company, and almost half of them are now in a union. And they also said they are amenable to doing a deal similar to this to any of their employees anywhere. So that includes in the United States, any other country. They literally did call out the United States too. So that's potentially going to be coming in the future, but it's a little bit more complicated in different countries depending on laws and whatnot. So it's just an interesting development, I guess. It's kind of a big first step because this is probably the biggest company to have one now,
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. A lot of things besides, I think a lot of things are getting overlooked as far as what a union can be used for. Because I know when I was back in Michigan and things, a union not only protects your pay or the workers' compensation and everything of that nature. A lot of people look at it from that standpoint, but it also protects you from racism and sexism and things of that nature. Like the union will really go to bat for you. And obviously the game industry is plagued by that. Unfortunately, that's an unfortunate thing about the game industry. I mean, I was reading an article, and they did bring up some good points about racism, and not only about the wages, but racism and sexism, especially with like Riot Games just selling out for that sexism thing that happened a couple months ago or a year ago. And there was really nothing the workers can do about that. So I think this is a great first step for developers. I'm wondering though, how is it going to get implemented? I'm wondering, the stipulations for the union, because you do have to pay into it, and how much is it going to affect the actual worker and the worker company relationship and things of that nature. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's just, I find it interesting that it's really Paradox who kind of Paradox, the company themselves, who kind of push this. Like it seems like they got a lot of interest from their workers for this. That's what they said, is like they got a lot of feedback that they wanted this, and they kind of worked with them to make it happen. So I do find that interesting. I think that is the way this is going to need to happen too. Like the companies are going to need to be on board with this too. And unfortunately, in the States specifically, I just think that's going to be really hard because the U.S. is just there's so many it's anti-union rhetoric in the United States is very, very prevalent. So
Yeah.
And I would wager most publishers in this country don't want their workers unionized. So, all right, let's move on. We got one more minor story here. This one is for me. So, Radical Fish Games, the developers of Crosscode, have announced with their publisher Deck 13 that the game's release date is going to be announced potentially as early as next week.
Wow.
So they announced an announcement. Yeah, I'm so excited, guys. But they did say, being real here, so when the game is coming out, they said sooner than you might think, which makes me think it's imminent, like within the month, which is exciting as hell because this game, we've seen hide nor hair of this port for a long time. This game's been on PC for like nearly 2 years now. And the port was announced early last year in 2019. It was supposed to come out last year, got pushed to this year, and then it just kind of didn't happen for a while. So it's nice to hear about. I am excited to play this game. This game has been on my radar for quite a while. I just don't want to play it on PC. Like, I really want to play it on consoles. So I'm looking forward to that. If you are into the whole MMO thing, you know, playing an MMO within an MMO or within a video game, whatever, I'm saying this poorly. You know, like Sword Art Online shit or whatever. That's what this game is. So yeah, check that out. All right, let us move on to game releases. Nothing really this week. Dead Cells is coming out on Android. Otherwise, everything else pretty much got delayed, moved out of the week. And there have been a shitload of other delays around the industry related to announcements. The PC gaming show for E3 got pushed back a week to June 13th. PlayStation, between last week's episode and this episode, PlayStation announced and delayed a PlayStation 5 showcase. It was supposed to happen tomorrow. We were recording on Wednesday. It was supposed to happen on Thursday. That got pushed out of the week. I've seen various other things get pushed around. Destiny 2 was supposed to be announcing something. They pushed that back. Call of Duty pushed their Season 4 back, you know, which was supposed to come out this week. What else happened? There was a number of other things. You can look all this up. The reason being is that there is civil unrest in the United States, and that is because a black man was was killed by police officers with 3 other police officers watching in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And this has caused protests to break out throughout the country, actually throughout the world, in fact.
Yeah.
To this. And this has kind of moved the conversation away from video games for most of these companies. They've probably done the smart thing and not had their little events because no one's going to care right now. And also, this issue is a lot more important. So I'm going to let Montrell speak for a few minutes, and we will.
I don't know what you want me to say.
I don't know. Hey, man, you wanted to talk about it, so I'll let you talk first.
Yeah. See, now I'm at the end of my rope. So, but anyway, so.
I mean, we talked about
it a lot off mic, and I'm glad we did because we, you know, personally we are friends. So I'm glad me and Justin talked about off mic. But I guess on air. I'm glad. At first, I'm not gonna lie. So my immediate reaction, because I think Sony's full of shit. So
yeah,
all the time, I think they're full of shit. Not just in this case. I don't think they're full of shit in this case. But
I mean,
when I saw it,
yeah,
I was like, oh my god, they're full of shit. They don't want to fucking show this console. They're scared and everything of that nature. And that was my first reaction. I did not blame the protesters. I did not blame. I mean, I'm one of them. I did not say anything about that or anything of that nature. It was just purely Sony. Like, that was my. I was just so focused on them because I know the reputation that this company is. Like, they will use any means to delay or not be prepared for anything. Right. So that was my first reaction to it. But then I started seeing other companies, say they need the voices to be heard, and the gamers, a lot of the black gamers were on board with that because they're like, and I saw Sony fanboys yeah, Sony did the right thing. Even Jeff Keighley said that and everything of that nature. And
yeah.
So I came around to it. I'm like, yeah, they're right. Sony did the right thing.
Okay, I want to point one thing out though. They announced this after the protest started.
Yeah, they did.
Like they did that, and then a week later decided, not even a week later, 3 days later decided it was like it wasn't good PR to do it. I understand they made a donation, you know.
Well, they said they wanted their main reason is because they wanted they wanted the voices of the people in the civil unrest to be heard, and I get that, and I understand that, and I'm glad they did that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad a lot of other companies did it. What I'm not proud of as a gamer, I'm not proud of us.
Yeah,
as gamers.
I agree.
And that's where I really wanted to focus on. The amount of egregious fucking comments I've seen under Sony, not just because they delayed it and they think, oh, Sony's full of shit. People were blaming the protesters like it's in black people, like it's their fault for what's going on. And it was it got to a point to where it was like almost Gamergate again.
Yeah,
like
right.
And I spent this last year and a half defending gamers, like defending us to a T, saying that we're not racist and all this other shit like that. And it's just a small minority of us. Yeah, that's still the case. But holy shit, are you guys this vocal minority? You guys are fucking loud as shit, because that's all the media saw. Like, and I want every gamer to call these gamers out, because that's not what we are. We are not that. What I saw under comments in the Nintendo, under Square Enix, under all
Activision
shit,
with Call of Duty.
Oh my god,
that was
Activision was 4chan.
Absolutely wild, dude. Like, yeah, they just came out of their little fucking closet. Like, it was crazy, dude. Every comment was something bad, like horrible, you know, like completely inconsiderate and like, where's season 4? Why are you doing this? This is stupid. And it's like
it spread it all the way out, even to like when Crunchyroll made their announcement for like anime and stuff like that. They didn't delay any anime. They just came out and supported Black Lives Matter. And I started seeing, you know how people have commissions, like commissioner art people?
Yeah, right.
Like they were drawing racist art. And like it was just like, what are y'all doing? Like these web comic people and like that have millions of followers and stuff like that. I followed some of them. They were writing and they were drawing racist stuff, and I'm just like, what are you talking? Like, what's going on?
Yeah,
it was just such a mind blowing thing to me. Like it was just crazy. A lot of these people are neutral. Like they don't really post any Trump stuff. They don't say any, like a lot of the commissioners, the artists, they don't post anything. They just post their art. But to see them get really political was just really.
This is what set them off. Call of Duty Season 4 getting delayed. like what the fuck are we talking about? Like that's what's gonna set you off. Like I don't like. All right, so I guess I'll start with, I fully support the protests that are happening. They need to happen. This is totally justified. Change needs to happen with police. Like it's gotten
100%.
ridiculous in this country. So, but given that this like no one, I don't feel like people are saying like everyone needs to go out and protest. Bro, if you want to sit in your house and play video games all day and completely ignore what's happening, go ahead. You know, like I don't think anyone's really going to care it that much. But like to get up in arms about the fact that these companies are trying to be tactful for once, even if I think in a lot of cases it's disingenuous.
I think the same thing, but
the fact that they're doing it though, they are actually doing it, you know, and it's like whether it's disingenuous or not, they are doing it. They're actually acting, you know, in that sense. And some of these companies have support, like actually like put financial support forth, like Sony did, Square did, and you said Ubisoft did as well.
Yeah, Ubisoft did as well.
So some of them are putting their money where their mouth is. And I absolutely respect that. But as an individual gamer though, like I saw this with the Sony thing, dude. Like people were so up in arms about this too. Is like this isn't the most important thing that's happening right now. Like you can wait a couple more weeks. You know, it's like even if it's a month, like you can wait a month. The PS5 is not coming out when they announce it. You know, it's like it's not that crazy of a deal. Just be patient and don't be. And these people, unfortunately, I think it's kind of like shined a light once again on the fact that gaming is just full of really toxic people, racists, people who are prejudiced against others for like really minute reasons, and just toxic individuals in general, negative people. And unfortunately, I just think gaming really fosters that as a hobby. Like it's just the way it is because it's so interactive, you know, and you have to, and you play it with other people a lot. You know, there's so many multiplayer games out there, and even the ones you don't, you know, generally you're still going to be interacting with people, talking to them, you know, trying to have conversations around these games, you know. And I just think, unfortunately, there's so little oversight. And in Activision and Treyarch, or I think it was Infinity Ward, sorry, have said that they are going to be banning people now, like more than they usually do, for like saying toxic shit in games. And that is a good step. Unfortunately, I just don't believe they're going to be committed to that long term, because that is going to be really, really, really effort intensive. Like it's going to require them to hire people. They're going to have people that literally do this all day. That's their job. And maybe they already do, but they're going to need more of them, you know, because these people are everywhere. We both play MOBAs. Those are some of the most toxic fucking games you can play, you know, and nothing is done against these people for the most part. They have these stupid, like Valve and Riot both have these stupid automated systems that can be like gamed to the point where you can literally get people who are innocent banned, you know, because.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll be honest about it. A lot of these companies are ran by like white people. So, I mean, they don't have, when you get online, you don't have to hear the amount of stuff because I mean, obviously you can't tell who's white over the mic. I mean, people are like, oh, you sound white or you sound black or whatever. I know plenty of you know, quote unquote, I know plenty of white people who quote unquote sound black. You know what I'm saying? I know plenty of black people who quote unquote sound white. So it's like, well, even when I used to get on the mic, people were like, are you black or are you white? Like, I mean, it used to just be like, and I know I used to joke a lot on here, like, you know, I kind of miss those days, but it's like a lot of, that's just me. I can take that. But a lot of people cannot play video games online because it's just so egregious. A lot of women can't play video games online, or they have to mute everybody, or they have to have certain friends to play games with online. They have to have a safe space, like almost like a bodyguard of fucking friends to play online with, to defend them from these like ravenous gamers. And I don't want to be that guy, that quote unquote SJW guy, but I mean, we try to self-regulate ourselves. Like we try, like I mean, we're trying to talk to gamers and everything of that nature. I'm trying to talk to gamers and let them know their toxic behavior. But a lot of them just don't fucking care, and they ruin it for everyone else.
Well, they have there's no repercussions.
You're right.
And that's where the banning comes in, right? But even that only does so much. I mean, we see these hackers get banned in these fucking games, and then bam, they're right back in with a new account. You know, it's like, because a lot of these games are free to play. So what does banning even do? You know, a lot of the time. So I don't know what the solution is in this case. Obviously, the companies getting more involved is a step that needs to happen with this stuff. But I think the sexism side of it is frankly even worse probably than the racism side. I've seen that way more in gamer culture than I've seen racism. Like I've seen racism, but it's not like, it's just some guy saying the N-word, you know, and like I feel like with women it's more nefarious, you know, where like women are getting like DM'd and like people are trying to figure out where they live and shit and like stalking them and stuff. It's disgusting shit.
It's fucking crazy. The amount of I have a couple female gamers, and since we gotten cameras on fucking, like, you can hook up any USB camera to like a PlayStation or Xbox, the amount of meat mail they get is fucking ridiculous. And I can't comprehend sending your penis over the internet to some random woman you don't even know.
So that's so wild to me, dude. Like, yeah, that's the part about it is like, in our sphere, like that is it's like one of the worst sides of it. Like, because I mean, you see it with influencers, right? Like the female influencers out there, like they get it so much worse than the dudes, you know. And it's gross, dude. Like it's like literally like every other comment is like, oh, you're hot, oh you like you're pretty. It's like, dude, like you could think that in your mind, bro. Like you don't need to like say it on fucking Twitter, you know. You don't need to say it in the middle of a game somebody's playing, you know. It's like they're literally playing the game to like get away from their life. Probably they don't need you to ruin it, And it's like, so yeah. I think in our gamer side of things is like, yeah, seeing that in the sphere, because obviously I've been trying to keep up with everything, but obviously most of my Twitter is curated around video games.
Yeah, mine's is too.
In sports, so it's like I'm seeing those two sides of things, and the on the gamer side specifically, the amount of shit I've seen is just like, it's disappointing. It's like I knew it's there still, but it just seems like it doesn't come out as much.
I'll be naive and say, I'll be stupid and say, I thought after the whole Gamergate thing, that kind of exposed a lot of things and people were starting to change as far as that. Yeah. Like, because when I used to get online now or before this week or whatever, I would talk online and people would talk to me and there would be hardly any racism. And when I'm playing League, like people be toxic, but they're talking about the game. No N-words would be used or anything like that.
Right.
Or
and that's kind of a different discussion, I guess. But
yeah, and it's like now though, I guess the culture was just always there, but it's just not as prevalent as it was before. But delay a PlayStation 5 and you see it, and it's like, oh, what does this have to do with my games and all this stuff like that? And it's like these people that are out in the streets, they also play video games too. So
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like black people play Call of Duty. Like it's just a whole big thing. Like the running joke behind black gamers is like, especially for creative characters, is like we only get two hairstyles, which is cornrows and afro.
Dude, I've seen it you remember Angry Joe did a video on Madden a couple of years ago, and it was like the same they had the same 3 models for black dudes as last year. It was like, it's so bad, dude. It's so fucking bad. It's like, yeah. It's so
I think that's just funny.
Well, it's always like the fucking afro too. It's like the black character gets the fucking afro. It's like come on,
And it's always that nasty looking round afro. It's
yeah, man.
But I mean, I guess this is all encompassing to what we're saying. Like, there are other gamers besides white gamers and Japanese game or Asian gamers because. Yep. Apparently that's what a lot of people think. They just think it's white and Asian gamers, but there are other colors of gamers and things of that nature. And I'm just really disappointed. I've been defending gamer culture for a while, and this completely blew me left side. When I went into the comments of that PlayStation 5 reveal, I didn't even go into the Call of Duty one. I already knew that shit was going to be toxic.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it.
But the PlayStation 5 one was really surprising because I feel like Sony has a really diverse community of gamers, more so than Xbox and even Nintendo. And to see that in Sony's comments section was really, really telling. So
yeah, and I mean, for the industry as a whole, we discussed this. I think it was on Dennison's podcast. Oh no, actually it was when we had Dennison and John from the Catch Up on last year when Jedi Fallen Order was announced.
Oh yeah.
We were talking about how we wish that character wasn't a white dude or whatever.
Yeah.
And I kind of been thinking about this too. Is in gaming as a whole, is that I do feel like the black character is so underrepresented within games, compared to women, compared to Asian characters, white characters. It was definitely white characters, but I know how there's been a lot of push for female characters in games, but I feel like they get a lot more play and a lot more spotlight than black characters do. There's very few games that you play that have a black protagonist, and it's literally not. It's not a game where you can create a character. I'm not including Mass Effect in this because that doesn't really count to me. Okay, it's inclusive, but it's not a game about a black character, Yeah. And I'm thinking the only one I can think of off the top of my head is Mafia 3, maybe. I think a couple of the Assassin's Creeds.
Assassin's Creed. I think 2 of the Assassin's Creed. It was one DLC and then one on the PSP. Mm-hmm. And then it was Grand Theft Auto 4.
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto 5 too, because you have a black main character in that one. Or not Grand Theft Auto 4, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, not 4.
San Andreas, right.
The Russian one. And then Prototype 2.
That was
a black character.
Yep.
I believe.
Yep.
And
and then take that a step further, dude. Black
women.
Characters.
Oh my god, right. There's none.
I can think of maybe I don't even think you played as her, but in Uncharted Lost Legacy, Nadine. maybe like.
Well, the Assassin's Creed game you play as a
true.
mixed
Yep.
black character.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep. But it's like
it's a female, but it's the PSP game, and like no one
Yep.
hardly played that one.
So yeah, that's definitely something.
Okay, it was one game.
Yep.
The character looked white though. She looked really white. It's called Remember Me by Capcom. It was like a beat 'em up game.
Okay.
She was mixed. Her mom was black and her dad was white.
What about Battlefront 2? Wasn't the character in that?
Battlefront 2? No, she was like I want to say a Middle Eastern.
Okay.
Character.
Okay.
Yeah,
it
was a female.
I didn't play it, but
yeah, I think she was Middle Eastern. I want to say somewhere. Okay. I'm not
clearly
I know she wasn't like white.
We can count this on 2 hands, guys. Like there's very few games that center around a black character, male or female. So I think that is definitely something the industry, I think, needs to work on. Obviously, it's not something I like want them to force, but it's just something though that it's like it's definitely something that is obvious. Like when you are in it, it's like very clear that there's very few of them in like prominent roles within these games. Obviously, there's plenty of side characters that are black in these games, but the one you're actually playing as, and that's why like Jedi Fallen Order was so disappointing, because it was like that could have been the game that did it, and there would have been no problem with that, in my opinion. That game wouldn't have needed to change at all.
Yeah, it gets lost in translation because a lot of people think you're trying to force inclusivity, and it's like, or force diversity, and it's like, no, you can make a story around the character that just so happens to be black,
Right. You literally don't have to change anything in Jedi Fallen Order if you make Cal a black character. Like, you need a different voice actor. That's it. Like, I feel like the lines could probably be the same.
Yeah.
It's like, so that's kind of my point, is like, yeah, okay, from one direction it's forcing diversity, but it's like such an obvious opportunity. You don't even necessarily need to have like a really strong cultural understanding of black culture to make that character black in that specific instance, It's like, if you're going to make a game like Mafia 3, you kind of do need to understand that a lot more in depth, So it's like, I don't know. I'd like to see it more personally. It's just because a lot of people play games, dude. Like tons of people play games, and I think everybody, like, it is not an SJW thing to want everyone to feel like they have some kind of representation within the thing they play. Like that is not being an SJW. That's being a person,
Yeah, I guess my question is, why is it so up in arms when I put that status up a couple weeks ago about Cal and everything of that nature? I got so many Star Wars fans like grilling me about it, and I'm like, I'm not trying to kill white people. I just want a black character in the game. Like, I don't understand.
yeah, dude. It's not like you're trying to fucking make Finn the main character in the new trilogy either. It's like
he should have been,
he should have been, but he wasn't. So it's like, but yeah, that's like an adjacent conversation though, and it's like, I don't know. I don't know why these people have a problem with it. They feel threatened. I think maybe they personally, the character of Cal as he is personally resonates with them potentially, and changing that to a black character would, upend that kind of resonance potentially. But that's the thing though. If he had been black from the get-go, you would have never had that in the first place. So I don't know.
I can't say, like, from now on, I'm still going to defend gamers and stuff like that. Well, to a certain extent, but like, cause I've been feeling the pressure about that. And it's like, I can't defend what just happened like a couple of days ago. I can't defend that. I can't stand by and say like, oh, it's not all gamers. Of course it's not all gamers like us. We're not like that, but it's like,
there's a big subsection of the community though. I think that are like that, man.
Yeah, and it's hard to get other people into video games because people want video games to expand. I can tell. Some people don't. Some people want it to still be their own little thing and everything of that nature. But some people want it to expand and to reach others. Like, I would love for other people to get into video games, but sometimes it is a community. A lot of people have told me, like, I don't play video games because I want to get into it, but people I talk to are like really weird, or either one, they're really weird, or I've heard they're antisocial, really weird, or when I try to talk to someone about video games, they're racist as hell. And unfortunately, or they're sexist as hell. And unfortunately, I saw the racist part like full blown, and that's not good for us guys. Like, we need to do way better than that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you see them doing it, I mean, feel free to call them out. It's like because tell them it's not welcome, because it's not welcome. It's not welcome anywhere. But if within games, like, games is my thing. This is my sphere. This is where I reside, is within the game industry, and I don't want that shit here. And Montreal doesn't either. And I don't think most of you, I would assume all of you listening, don't want that either. It's like, I'm about inclusion. And even if that means I don't necessarily get what I want, that's, to me, is a good thing, so, because I want the community to expand, dude. Like, I want it to get bigger. Like, I think games has so much potential to really, like, touch people in a good way, and I think that community being underneath it all threatens that getting larger,
Yeah.
Because dude, think about it. You start playing games, you just bought like a PS4, and you go online on Twitter and you start getting into this game conversation, and say you play Call of Duty, fuck, dude, and you're like, you're really into like this Warzone or whatever, and you're looking to see the announcement on the season 4 getting delayed, and you just go to that Twitter page, which is very possible for a general Joe Blow, and you see all that shit underneath it. It's like, I don't know. I mean, I guess playing COD, though, you've probably already run into motherfuckers being dicks. So,
but even still, though, like, there are plenty of people of all sexes, of all sexual orientation, that play Call of Duty.
Yeah,
and they love that game. It's just like, I don't want to just put it off on that community. Like, oh, well, you can't play that game, guys,
that's
because
true.
that belongs to the racist white people. Like, no, it's a lot of people that that love that game. So,
yeah.
I just think we need to call out these people and just do better. And I think gamers in general need to just understand that. I don't even know what the fucking word I'm looking for or what I'm looking for. I just need to do better. That's it. And if you want to donate to everyone, to the protesters, there are plenty of funds out there. You can go to my Twitter page. I'm going to have it sticky on my Twitter page, or you can just DM me asking where to donate, and I can show you the right path.
Right. Yeah. And we're not going to go any deeper than that in terms of talking about it. But like I said at the top of this conversation, we do support the protests, and do support them. Like Montrell said, if you want to donate, there are many avenues to do so. He's got stuff on his Twitter, and there's plenty of avenues out there to do that. So and
I just want to reiterate, the reason why we're not going deep is because I haven't listened to it. This is actually, Justin asked me if I wanted to get deep into it, and I said no, because I've been going deep into it on my Twitter, on Facebook, and I've been calling people, and this podcast is literally my outlet or my escape from it for temporarily for the last hour and a half. I didn't have to think about it. I just wanted to play video games and talk about it, and probably jump right back into the shit.
And we hope you guys can use this episode that way as well, as a kind of an escape. I mean, we never want the show to get super political, even though there are topics adjacent to games or in games that are political. We will talk about those, but this will probably never be an overtly political show, So,
exactly.
We don't want it to be that. So that's going to be it for us, I believe. So if you like the episode, please like the episode, review the show, and subscribe to the show on whatever feed you're listening to it on. And if you could, please share it with your friends. We are looking to grow the audience. If you'd like to interact with either of us on Twitter, you can hit Montrell up at iTrap4the Hokage. That is the number 4, not the word. I am at Thunder.01, and the show is at The Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, you can send them on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. That's it for us. Next week, I have no idea what we're going to be talking about. I expect it to be another short, another light news week, so it may be another Xenoblade Chronicles intensive discussion. guys are looking at
we
ahead,
definitely
so.
were not expecting all this last week. So
Right. But if Sony does drop something, we will definitely talk about that. But I would not expect that until the end of the month at the earliest, probably. So at this point. So we hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we will see you on the next one. All right. Bye, guys.